G'day, battlers, and today we are jumping back in for the first official monthly cup of Silph Arena Season 4, which is going to be the Lunar Cup. We've only just come out from crowning our Season 3 World Champion, Bukk97. Really incredible battler, really incredible, just peak of his career now, hitting the World Championship spot. I actually had the pleasure of interviewing him just yesterday, maybe the day before, so definitely check that out on the channel after this. But speaking of things you can check out after this, I actually did the official Lunar Cup announcement video over on the Silph Arena channel, and it's only a few minutes, but it's a very fun video, so definitely recommend checking that out as well. But to reintroduce the cup now, the Lunar Cup, it is going to allow Pokemon with at least one typing of Bug, Dark, Electric, Ghost, or Grass, so really getting back to that Silph Arena roots of these sort of typing metas. And then there are a few bans, so bans on Mega Pokemon, Shadows, Scrafty, Pachirisu, Unovan Stunfisk, or Galarian Stunfisk isn't allowed, Alolan Marowak, Whimsicott, and Vullaby. So that's the cup, 1500, Great League, all the normal stuff. Straight away, you can make some quick observations like Bug, super effective to Dark and Grass, Dark, super effective to Ghost, but I think the most effective way to sort of figure out what is going to be good in this cup is by hitting that subscribe button for all of the Lunar Cup content coming out over the next month. But yeah, also getting onto the Meta Simplified. Just for you screenshotters out there, but let's jump into it and dive into what we've got here. Reading along the top, we've got a few groups here. So we've got the Ice types, represented by Frostlass and Abomasnow. Then we've got Zweilous, representing the sole representative of the Dragon types. We have the Electric types with Alolan Graveler, Magnezone, and Alolan Raichu. Then down to the bottom, we've got the Bug types with Beedrill, Fortress, and Crustle. Then we've got the Pseudo Fighters in Obstagoon and Pangoro. And then in the bottom right, we've got that duo of Umbreon and Umbreon of the Skies, as the Mandibuss is famously called, sort of representing the Dark types, even though it's already Dark types in like two of the other groups. Three of the groups here are essentially Dark types, but forming different roles. So I guess is the whole point of this whole thing. We also seem to have some sort of coffin shenanigans going around the edges of this video, but we'll talk about that as we kind of go on. And again, there are other Pokemon that are definitely going to be good in this cup. I'm going to talk about them a little bit more towards the end of the video, so definitely stay tuned for all of that, because yeah, there's some good Pokemon here that are not here. So starting off with the Ice types, Frostlass is just one of the most powerful Pokemon whenever it's allowed in a Silph meta. Like, if it's in there, it's probably pretty good, especially if you can give it an energy advantage, switch advantage, shield advantage, just some sort of advantage. Frostlass can kind of take and run away with a little bit. So you won't really get that vibe from the infographic here, because there's a lot of arrows kind of coming towards the Ice types and not much going away from it, but it gets a little bit more, it's a bit more detailed than that. So first of all, as the arrows say, they're generally going to be beating Zweilous, because Zweilous, not very good against Ice types because of its Dragon typing, and then there's arrows coming towards the Ice types from the Bugs, from the sort of Pseudo Fighter Dark types, and then also the Electric types over in the top right below. There is no arrow between the Ice types and the Dark types. That's because generally the Ice types are going to be beating that flying Mandibuss, but are generally going to be losing to that non-flying Umbreon, Mandibuss of the land, as no one has ever referred to it. But additionally, contrary to those arrows, Alolan Raichu can actually lose to the Spamminess from Abomasnow, and Beedrill doesn't always have the best matchup up against the Frostlass as well. So there is a little bit of back and forth there that isn't as clear from the infographic, but you know, again, Frostlass, if you get it a little bit of energy, it can probably flip a lot more matchups, but that's maybe a discussion for another day. The Ice types might work a little bit better as sort of safe swaps, or just yeah, I guess safe Pokemon that you want to get into certain play styles will favor them really well if you can get either of them in that sort of energy advantageous situation. Abomasnow as well is a Pokemon that it can just spam those weather balls, the energy balls, really fast. So if it has an energy advantage, I mean, both of them are really going to be burning your opponent's shield. So they're definitely really good Pokemon, but it takes a little bit of finesse maybe. But moving on to Zweilous, who I feel like he's kind of been near the top of every PvPoke ranking in like Silph Cups that he's been allowed in, which is pretty much because of the only reason that he's here now, and that is because of that just hard, neutral Dragon Breath damage. Dragon Breath is such a powerful move. You can really hit like everything for something, and it's no different here. It's just blasting damage to everything. With that in mind, it does pretty handily against the Dark types, which I feel like we've seen this matchup. Maybe it's like Catacomb Cup. We saw a similar sort of thing. But again, also generally beats the Electrics, but then loses to the Ice types pretty hard, as we said before. The Bug types, and then also tends to lose to those Pseudo Fighters as well. But Zweilous can get the upper hand, especially against Pangoro, especially if shielding goes a certain way, because Pangoro, as we'll get into a little bit later, it's one of those close combat-y Pokemon, so it's like it's debuffing itself, so then you're in a little bit of a bad spot if you're the Pangoro and then they shield your close combat, especially if they shield 2 close combats. You can kind of be in a very, very rough situation there. But I mean, Zoilis, it's a pretty straightforward Pokemon. It does, like, even the things that it loses against, it's still able to put under a bit of hurt. Like even Frostlass, if you're able to get a Dark Pulse onto that Frostlass, that's really good for that Zoilis. So Zoilis is a Pokemon that is going to be around. It's one of the only, like, I think 3 dragons in this cup alongside Alolan Exeggutor and Hydreigon. I can't remember. I think they're the only 3 in this cup. I'm not going to fact check myself. I'm also not going to talk right. Back onto the rails though, talking about the electric types, we've got that Magnezone, the Alolan Graveler, and the Raichu as well. I was a little bit too that way. But these guys, you can see Magnezone and Graveler are both going to be weak to counter, whereas Alolan Raichu is not. But Alolan Raichu is weak to dark types, and when you put all of these facts into one spot, you're going to get a group of Pokemon that are not very good up against those pseudo fighters in the bottom and middle. They kind of run away with it. It's not great, but as we kind of said before, they're generally going to be losing to Zoilis as well. They are going to beat the ice types mostly, except for the Abomasnow versus Alolan Raichu matchup. Generally, that one does go in Abomasnow's favor, because again, it's just a really spamming Pokemon, but Alolan Raichu is one of those powerful Pokemon. If it has an energy advantage, it can kind of run away with it a bit, just like Frostlass as well. Then moving on, I've got Raichu also having some problems up against the dark types that it's got the arrow pointing down towards, even though the other 2 are generally pretty good at it. Alolan Raichu Psychic typing, holding it back a little bit. It does have the Mandibuzz matchup. Mandibuzz is a little bit back and forth because you are throwing that super effective electric. It can throw the super effective dark back. If Raichu has an energy advantage, then it's pretty solidly in Raichu's court, but you know, you do need to get yourself in that energy advantage spot. Then there is no arrow between the electrics and the bugs. And do you want to guess whose fault that is? Yeah, it's Alolan Raichu. Alolan Raichu with its psychic typing. Not a great time up against the bug types. I almost took Achu off this graphic just because there was so much that was like, you know, not great against the dark types, even though the other ones are alright. Not great against the bug types, even though the rest are alright. Loses to Abomasnow, even though the rest are alright. But I mean, it's kind of it's still a really powerful Pokemon, and it's gonna be up to you to show how good it is, and send me the tournament footage if you win. Onto the bugs though, we talked about it before, they're generally going to beat the ice types, except Frostlass does actually have a little bit of a better time up against Beedrill, so have to keep that in mind. The other 2 are a little bit better in that spot. They're also generally going to be beating these Zoilis because of its dark typing. They're going to be losing for the most part to the electrics, except again, that Alolan Raichu matchup we said before. And then onto the sort of pseudo dark fighters, it's kind of a bit strange. Like the bug types generally do have it for the most part, because the bug types, the Fortress and the Crustle, are going to take neutral damage from the fighting, whereas Beedrill is going to resist, and then Pangoro is going to take neutral damage from the bug, and Obstagoon is going to take super effective damage. So it's kind of mostly neutral or resisted back and forth, but the bugs generally do take it out for the most part. I mean, Obstagoon being super effective. Pangoro does have some way to fight back, especially against Fortress. I think Fortress, if it's able to kind of get those close combats through, Pangoro is going to be able to take Fortress out because of its steel typing, just kind of, I guess, not protecting it enough. But for the most part, you can kind of rely on the bugs fighting the pseudo fighters. Again, Pangoro is one of those really difficult Pokemon to use that you probably need some practice with to make sure you use it right. I mean, I haven't actually evolved mine yet, so I should probably get on that for this cup. Anyway, though, the last group on the graphic before we get into the bonus picks is the Umbreon of the land and the sky, as I'm going to continue to refer to them probably all month, so I apologize for that, but they're pretty straightforward. I mean, they're just like really, really dark types. I mean, I say straightforward, there are a bunch of things that are like the arrows don't quite make sense on this graphic, and there's like, but it's stuff like, you know, Umbreon is going to be pretty decent up against the ice types in the top left, whereas Mandibuzz, not as good because it's a flying type. Same with the electric types, Mandibuzz, not as good because it's an electric type. Umbreon does have a little bit more play, especially against that Alolan Raichu. And then there's the other one where the bug types, Umbreon loses pretty rough, but Mandibuzz has some comeback play because it's flying type. I think generally Beedrill is a good matchup, and Fortress, I think Mandibuzz can win that as one as well, but Crustle does have that big like rock damage, so Mandibuzz can't really escape that one. So even though the dark types don't actually have any main arrows coming off it on this graphic at all, except for the coffin, like main arrows, they're still able, like, they're powerful Pokemon. They're incredibly bulky, and they can sort of flip a lot of these matchups in a case where you're down to the last Pokemon, you swap in your Umbreon and their Pokemon's only on half health. A lot of the time, Umbreon is going to be able to soak up that damage, like basically act as a third, sometimes even fourth shield, and then just kind of be able to dominate that matchup by purely because it survives. And that does bring us to Cofagrigus though, which is a really interesting Pokemon. We saw Stone Collection, I think it was, use it against Dunebug in the World Prelims. Again, on this channel, you can check that out after this as well. Among them, you can check out so much stuff. There's so much stuff you can watch after this. I mean, you can probably just watch Netflix as well. That's perfectly fine. Or you can go to PvP, start doing some practicing on this cup. But anyway, Cofagrigus, as we were talking about this entire time, it's over in the bottom left-hand corner of the graphic as well. It's kind of like a counter to the bug types, a pretty handy counter to the bug types. And then we've got it over below me, I'll get the directions someday, as kind of just hard, being really walled by the dark types, as we actually saw in the World Prelims a little bit. It just does not do great in those matchups. I think Cofagrigus is definitely a pretty powerful Pokemon. It can definitely do a lot of damage in a lot of spots. It's not one that I personally have a good enough understanding of yet. I need to power one up, I need to build one, and kind of do some practice with it. But I think that's another discussion that we can kind of put a pin on and leave it for another day, because Cofagrigus is definitely something you can't ignore it. But on top of Cofagrigus, there are some other Pokemon that we haven't mentioned today in this video at all. So just to kind of rattle off a few of them, Roserade is a Pokemon that can be really good, because it's got that really spammy Fire Weather Ball. It charges up really fast. It can hurt the Ice types, especially that Abomasnow, who's double weak to it. Hurt the Bug types, especially that Fortress, who's double weak to it. And then also able to, Magnezone has that Steel type, so it's going to be good against that. And then overall, just able to kind of really do a lot of neutral damage in there as well. Plus, I would actually recommend that you go for Dazzling Gleam on Roserade in this cup, because if you land a Dazzling Gleam onto one of the many dark types during this meta, I mean, look at this new graphic. Look at how many dark types are on here. And Dazzling Gleam is a really powerful move. I mean, especially against Pangoro. Pangoro, who's got the dark end fighting type, so it's like super duper ultra mega weak to Fairy. A Dazzling Gleam from Roserade does over 220% of its health. So you can debuff a Roserade down to like 50% of its attack, and it's still going to one-shot a Pangoro with the Dazzling Gleam. So I'm really hoping that if anyone is able to land a Dazzling Gleam onto a Pangoro this month, please just like tag me on Twitter, tag me on Discord, something, just show me that footage, because that would be awesome. I think I might try and do that in some tournaments here and there as well. Could be a bit of fun. Does rely on other people using Pangoro though, which is a bit of a, I mean, it is a rarer Pokemon, so I think you might see more Obstagoons than you see Pangoros, but there are other poison types as well other than Roserade. So there's Drapion and Skuntank. Both of them are pretty good in this cup as well. Definitely something to be a little bit careful of. There's things like Venusaur as well that could do okay, but I'm not sure if they're really gonna quite find their spot in here. Tropius is a different grass type that has the flying type as well that could do pretty well. I feel like might be a bit of a shift to Pokemon that Tropius doesn't do well against, so I think Tropius might be a leave it at home here. I certainly wouldn't like build a Tropius instantly for this cup if you don't already have one built up, but maybe worth practicing. Maybe just kind of wait and see how the meta sort of shifts to see if you do want to use Tropius in this cup. But with all of that said, I think that's all I wanted to say. I hope that's all I wanted to say, but thank you for checking out my Lunar Cup Meta Simplified infographic. Again, check out the announcement video that I did on the Silph Arena channel. It's going to be linked in the description. Definitely worth the watch. And yeah, huge thank you to all of my patrons and supporters over on Twitch as well. I've actually opened up YouTube memberships. There's only like one tier, and with that tier you get to use the emotes that Sadie made there. You can use both of those on the channel, so I think that's, I don't know, it seems kind of cool. I mean, I'm going to be using them a lot now. I mean, I can use them on Discord because of the Twitch thing. I can use them on YouTube because of my thingy. I don't think I can use it anywhere else. I'm assuming it's just on my channel, but I haven't actually tested yet, so I guess we'll find out. But yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Check out everything, you know, the interview with Dunebug, the announcement on the Silph channel, the World Prelims if you want to catch up on that as well. I'm sure the World Championship Finals will be up on the Silph channel eventually. But yeah, thanks for coming out, and see you later.